Hello, my name is John Brink. I'm the president CEO of the Brink Group of Companies. I'm absolutely, totally delighted to have been asked by Peter Legge for his podcast, Story of Influence, to introduce one of his special guests, whose name is known by everybody, Jim Pattison, a man of an entrepreneur extraordinaire. I followed him for the last 40 years, a man that has shown his influence not only in ways of building companies, but also in what he gives back to the communities, in philanthropy and all other things. A man, I believe, is an example for all those that look at entrepreneurship as how to start, when you start from the bottom up, and how you build companies. And he has gone through the ups and the downs. And I'm sure you will hear that in the podcast that Peter will have here, that following this introduction. Again, I'm extremely pleased to have been asked to provide the introduction for this particular interview, and I hope you very much enjoy it.
If you have lived in British Columbia or Canada during the past 40 years, you would be very aware of the name Jimmy Pattison. Affectionately, most people just call him Jimmy, and you instantly know who they are talking about. He started his career driving a car to school at UBC, selling the car that day and walking home, and then repeating it again. And I'm not sure if this is a legend and how many years he did that, but he certainly did that. His commitment to British Columbia is very impressive. Just look at the number of hospitals he has his name on, the car dealerships he owns, the radio stations, outdoor signs with his name on. And in my opinion, Expo 86 would never have been the success it was without Jimmy's fine hand and his leadership, because he is a businessman's businessman. If you met him today, you'd find he is polite, engaging, interested in the discussions, and if you don't know it, you might not realize that the Jimmy Pattison organization is about $12.7 billion enterprise, and he owns it all. He is very kind, he is interested, he asks questions and interacts with you, and he is one smart businessman. A number of years ago, the David Foster Foundation held a massive concert at GM Place to raise money for David's foundations, and he wanted to present Jimmy with its highest honor. Who else to introduce Jimmy but Oprah Winfrey? In her live speech, she told the story of one of Jimmy's most remarkable traits, and it is this, that when he makes a commitment, he always follows through, always. And I can attest to that. On his 90th birthday, BC billionaire Jimmy Pattison says he still loves going to work every day. And every day I see him, I can tell he's energetic, he's excited, and he's happy to be part of life. Jimmy, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for including me.
Was that introduction a bit over the top for you?
Well, I've never heard anything that good. My mother would certainly be happy, but to hear that, but it's very generous of you, and thank you.
You're very welcome. The first question I would like to ask you is, in all the years you've been building your business and traveling the world and doing deals left, right, and center, what would you consider is your greatest business achievement in life so far?
The greatest in my life is would be to get the first car dealership that we got.
And that was a GM dealership, was it not?
The GM dealership at 18th and Cambie, and I had no money, and I had 7,000 equity in my house, and General Motors gave me a franchise, a Pontiac Buick franchise that was not doing well at 18th and Cambie, and that would have been the most important transaction in my business life.
Now, is this just legend, or is it true that when you started your sales meetings, let's say at 8 o'clock in the morning or 8:30, whoever wasn't in there, you locked the door and they couldn't get in, or is that just?
Oh no, absolutely, always.
Oh, okay. And that worked.
We always start on time, but never late. Sometimes we start early, but never late.
Sometimes we start early, but never late. And where,
No, we always.
where is that dealership
Sorry.
today? Is that dealership still there today, or?
That dealership is not there today. It's gone. It's General Motors are fine, but they've changed the locations around. And they had too many car dealerships in town at one time, and they asked me if I would. They wanted to shut one down, and they asked me about would I be willing to do that, and I said absolutely. If it was a General Motors' best interest, I'd be happy to do it.
So a lot of people know that I know you, and they always wonder, what does Jimmy do in his spare time? Not that you have a lot of spare time, but what do you do in your spare time?
What do I do in my spare time? Well, I basically don't have much spare time. We have a boat that we've had now for the last 25 years. So in the summer, I have, although I haven't gone out this year, but I used to go out there for a few days. And the other thing we do is we have a house in Palm Springs, and I go down there for a week, at least maybe 10 days every year. So I take time from, at various parts of the season. But, I haven't found anything better that I like than going to work.
So you never seem to run out of steam. Every time I see you, you're energetic and you're inquisitive and you want to know what's happening. Has that been always part of your life while you've been in business for these many years?
I think I've always had, thank the good Lord, I've had good health. And so I've always been involved in selling something. And you know what that's like. And so there's always something new and different all the time when you're selling things. And I've been very fortunate in having been exposed to that part of the world.
There is a legend about you. I don't know if it's true or false, but you used to go through the Georgia Hotel and check for loose coins in the telephone boxes. Is that true, or? Absolutely
true. I was a page boy at the Georgia Hotel. And I would, when the phones were not being used, I always to check to see if there was nickels in them, and there quite often there was.
And did you have to save them, or did you put them in your
own?
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. I was. That's what I was. I was going to school at the time, and I had my mother would pack my dinner, and I started at 4:30 every day and went through to 8:30, and I worked all day Saturdays. I got off Sunday, and so that's what I did. And I liked to find and met some wonderful people, by the way, when I was working there.
What would you say is the biggest challenge you faced in your very successful career?
Well, let me say I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've had lots of things that I've been unsuccessful at. So thank you for saying that. But on balance, we've managed to stay alive. But I'd say, what's the most difficult thing that I think that most difficult? I'd have to think about it, Peter, to tell you the truth, because most of the things. Oh, I know what it is. I got a job with my cousin in summer holidays one year, digging in Kelowna, where the CP tracks go across a little bit of a river there, or lake, I guess. And I got a job digging dirt in the side of the river, and I didn't like that.
What one question do people ask you the most, or seem to ask you the most?
One question that people ask me the most. Peter, they always ask, how am I doing? You know, and just like you are.
Well,
So
you're
how
like
am I
the
doing?
Energizer Bunny. You're always doing something.
Well, I usually owe the bank's money, so that keeps my attention on what I'm doing.
Now, is it true that the premier at the time, when Expo 86 was beginning, asked you if you would give a year of your life pretty much to run Expo 86?
The premier asked me if I would take on the job of Expo 86 is right.
And what was the biggest challenge for you? Didn't it rain the first month or so or something like that?
No, we didn't. No, we got off to a good. It rained, but we didn't have a big issue with the rain. In total, we budgeted for 15 million attendance at Expo 86, and we got 22 million.
Wow.
So we exceeded our volume, we exceeded the revenue, we exceeded our budget. So that turned out okay.
And what was the most exciting thing for you to do at Expo? Just to be the leader and pull the whole thing together for the province?
I think that I liked going into the pavilions that the different countries had, including different provinces, and meeting the people. I think the people that I had a great opportunity to meet people. Out of it, I got to become good friends with the Bush family through that, for example. And other people I got to know that really became, good friends.
Your manners, to me, are pretty perfect. And I don't mean to embarrass you to say this, but you're very kind and generous, and you always stand up to meet someone, to shake their hands and to welcome them, say, to the golf club where we last met. And is that a habit you've had all these years?
Yes, my mother and dad always were very strong on being polite and courteous to people, and it was and of course I've been selling all my life, and as you know, Peter, that the customer is king, and so it's always good to be friendly and positive with customers, and so I couldn't have had better parents, and they were always up and taught me the things that's a lot of things I learned from my mother and dad.
Would you say that they have been, in the beginning years, your role models, your main role models in life?
Absolutely. I couldn't have had parents. We didn't have any money, but I can tell you I couldn't have had better parents than my mother and father that I had. And because I was an only child, and they just made sure they were disciplined, boy. I followed the rules. I was called on the mat, so I learned that early, to do what you're told.
So who would be your role models today? Who would you look to for inspiration to help you?
To help me, well, I can tell you, as of people that's alive today.
Yes.
People alive today, anybody that's positive, upbeat, isn't crying all the time about how bad things are, or this, are the people that I like people like that. But who is a role model today for me? I would say anybody like in the Bush family, whether it was George H.W. Bush or George Bush, or those people, they were always up people people like that have been hugely positive. You look at the people that are successful in life, Peter, they're the people that are upbeat, not the people that are always whining and kicking about something or other. There's always something that's not right with everybody sooner or later. And so it's important to take a positive attitude. And my mother and dad taught me that early.
So beyond your mother and father, which I know you love dearly, who do you think has influenced you the most? Could it be the Bush family?
in my life, the most influence that I would say that having been exposed to George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush and the family, boy, what examples they set for everybody. And I was fortunate enough to get exposed to them quite a bit. And they certainly were people that I don't think you could find anything fault-wise, because they were always positive. They were upbeat. They didn't kick about everybody. And no, they were about as good a family as I run across. The George H.W. Bush.
What has been the happiest period of your life? Has there been one period that's been better for you? You've been happiest the most then?
I can't recall being happier than I am today. And I've never been through a period that I don't remember being happy. I've been through a period I had no money and all of that, but I've always been happy.
Is there one thing that makes you happier than most things? Because every time I've met you, you exude positiveness and interested in the individual you're talking to, and that has influenced me. What has been the happiest part of your life that's influenced you, and somebody's maybe played that part?
Well, I was, I had good parents, and they were always. We didn't have any money, but that had nothing to do with being happy or upbeat. And all through my life, we've had difficulty here and there, and still do from time to time. But by and large, I've always been around people that were upbeat, and it's much more positive to be dealing with people that are positive, instead of crying all the time of how bad this is, how bad that is, how bad the weather is, and how bad the government is, and all of that. So I think it comes, Peter, a lot with your attitude when you get up in the morning.
Yeah. If you could change one thing about the world, what would it be?
If I was to change one thing about in the world, what would it be? I like those nice, simple questions, Peter, you're asking. I would be, in the whole world, I would say that climate is hugely important for everybody. And I think that would be something that everybody would be affected by. That if everybody had a nice sunny day, would be very, very nice as far as the things around us are concerned. The other side of it is I was born up in a Christian home, and so Christianity has been an important part of my life, as my family, and going to church and all of that.
One question that people, when some of my friends know that I was going to have an opportunity to talk to, they say, ask them this question: what does it take to be a Jimmy Pattison?
Well, it takes a time at the banks to borrow the money, because I've spent most of my time at the banks trying to loan money to see if we could do business and grow the company. So I think that I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the Canadian banks.
So where do you think the next 5 or 10 years you can take the Pattison Group?
Oh heck, we're concentrating on building business right now. I'm going away very soon as the border gets straightened out here in the next few days, and I'm going on a trip to the States to look to see if we can buy a company that we'd like to buy down there. And so we're in the business or in growing the business. So we at the end of last year, at the end of December, we had 51,000 employees in the company, and we're continuing to grow the business, and that's what our objective is.
Is there one reason that you've, other than you just love Vancouver and British Columbia, is there one reason you've stayed right here in this city?
Yes, my mother.
Your mother.
At one time, we seriously considered moving. When I first started in business, we decided that it was much easier to do business in the States and grow the business, what we wanted to do. But my mother, I was an only child. My dad had died, and my mother was getting up in years, and I didn't want to leave her here by herself because I had no brothers and sisters. So I stayed in Vancouver and kept this our head office. But the management that we had at the time, we wanted to move because it was much easier to do business, the kind of things we were doing in the US than it was Canada at that time.
So moving forward, what aspirations do you have for Jimmy Pattison organization?
Well, we're anxious in growing the business, and we're concentrating on things that are friendly to the environment. Is absolutely number one on our agenda today on everything is the environment. And as we're in the car business and we're in other businesses that we've got to move more and more to get involved in things that are good for the environment. And so as we grow the business, the number one issue we ask ourselves now is this positive to the environment? Is it negative? And so that's the first thing we look at today. Is it friendly for the future of the environment?
Is there one aspect of the pandemic and how it's affected your business surprised you the most?
Yes. What surprised me the most is our billboard business. And we have outdoor business, anything to do with outdoor advertising. We're on buses, we're in subways across Canada. We're the largest outdoor company in Canada. And we have long-term leases with airports and the transit systems and property owners where we have billboards, and they're all got long leases on them, like 5, 10, 20 years. And when the pandemic came along, most people cut their advertising, but you still have the leases that we're responsible for.
Right.
So the business that we've hit the hardest here overall has been the billboard business, because we have our contracts that we got to continue to pay, and the advertisers have cut the advertising sharply and harshly. And so we got hurt there and have been. Now that's starting to improve now. The other thing is that we've got hurt at is the Great Wolf Lodge, it's been closed for a year and a half now in Niagara Falls, where we have all people and us little kids, and it's all a people business and entertainment right on the border of Niagara Falls, and it's been closed now for a year and a half. So those are where we've been hit the hardest.
Are there
on the other side? Sorry, go ahead.
No, are there plans to open that up again?
Yes, but it's not open yet, but it'll open at the proper time. And advertising is starting to come back on the billboards as we speak.
What one advice would you give to the young people today who want to make the best use of their lives? What would your encouragement be to them?
I would encourage them to do what they like doing. And it's like playing the violin. Well, get involved in music and enjoy what you do. And I mean, if I go to work every day because I like going to work, it's fun talking to people like you and meeting people. And that's what I do. And nothing's perfect. So I would encourage anybody, if you like what you do, you'll usually be good at it, Peter.
Yeah, if you like what you do, absolutely.
Sure.
So one of my last questions is, what is your prayer going forward? Your prayer for you and your family and your businesses?
Well, I pray. I always pray every day. I go to church on Sunday, And that doesn't make me perfect by any means, but I believe in God and the Christian faith. And so I think that the main thing is to be sure that you try to be fair. Now, that's always a disagreement with sometimes with people, what is fair. But the objective personally is to get up in the morning and enjoy what you do. And of course, your health is very, very important. And the other thing my mother always taught me is, Jimmy, be sure you pick good friends because they have a strong influence on you. And so I always remembered that. And so I always try to make sure that over the years when I was growing up, that not only did I like my friends, but my mother liked them too.
When we met a couple of Sundays ago, you said one of the things that surprised you the most about the pandemic was how many used cars you sold.
That's right. And people, when the pandemic came, people did not want to ride in the buses. They didn't want to be in carpools. And so people bought new cars, and the people that didn't buy new cars, there was a big lift in used cars. And so all the car dealers have done much better than they anticipated because people did not want to ride the buses and they didn't want to be in carpools. And that meant a big boost, particularly in the used car business.
So that was all your dealerships basically across Canada?
I'm sorry, Peter?
Was that on all of your dealerships across Canada?
Our dealerships are all in Western Canada. We have 28 car dealerships, and they're all in this side of Winnipeg, including Winnipeg.
So what challenge is left for Jimmy Pattison? You seem to have conquered just about everything you've tackled in your life.
Peter, we're just getting started. We got lots of opportunities coming here, new ones. We got we always have some kind of trouble. And so our job is to try to stay out of the trouble as much as we can and grow the business and get up every morning and can't wait to go to work.
So my last question is this. What challenges does the average person have to overcome to be a huge success as you have been and are?
Well, first of all, people can be very successful playing a violin or a drummer or a gardener. It depends on what you're exposed to. I happen to like business, but my goodness, everybody likes something. And I've always found if you like something and concentrate and be honest, you'll be good at it. And if you're good at it, you usually can make money if enough to what you want to do. Now, some people, they like spending more time gardening. Nothing wrong with that. But I happen to like selling used cars, and that's where I got my start. And so I'm still doing it.
And doing it well, I might add. Jimmy, thank you so much.
We make a lot of.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Nice to see you.
Yes, and you're a man of your word, which of all the things I love about you is when you commit to something, come heaven or high water, you will do it. And that is a golden rule of yours.
Well, thank you for saying that. We certainly try to follow that.
Yeah. And God bless you, Jimmy. And if you think we can help you in any way, I hope somebody will call.
Well, thank you very much, very much. And thank you for all the things that you've contributed to our community, Peter.
It's my pleasure, Jimmy. I followed your lead and your advice and your suggestions, and you can only get out of life what you put back into it.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. I wish you all the success in the world, Jimmy. You deserve it for sure.
Thank you so much for seeing you today.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you.
So having watched this amazing podcast with Peter Legge and Jimmy Pattison, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And for those that aspire to entrepreneurship or like to know more about those that have done and have proven to be amazing, I hope this is the interview for you.